Good Sunday afternoon. Hope everyone's doing well and enjoying a pleasant weekend. Today's video is going to be, well, let's say we'll file this one under I Told You So. If you recall, last year, a little over a year ago, there was an incident in South Carolina where a disturbed, to say the least, young man, white man, went into a South Carolina church and killed several of its black parishioners. Okay, we all remember that. Big in the news. As a result of that incident, there were many photos of this white man shown across the news daily. And among those pictures were some of him wearing t shirts with a Confederate battle flag on them. As a result of that, it was determined by someone somewhere that we needed to ban the Confederate flag. Somehow or other, it was determined that this flag had something to do with him killing these people. Okay, well, you remember all that. This is nothing new to you. And at the time, people on both sides of the issue, those for banning it, those against banning it, were making their thoughts heard. Several of my friends, myself included, believe that we should be able to display the Confederate battle flag for whatever reason. You can argue about it all you want, about how it's a hateful emblem, racist emblem, whatever. The fact is, we have a First Amendment in this country, and as part of our First Amendment rights to free speech, we should be able to display that flag. Well, the primary argument at the time was racist versus non-racist. It's a hateful emblem, et cetera, et cetera. And my pro display friends, because of their Southern heritage and their pride in their Southern heritage, thought that that was the reason why we should be able to display the flag. The antis decided that because it was an emblem that had been used by the Ku Klux Klan, or because it was an emblem that represented the Old South, that it was racist and hateful and should not be shown. Okay, we remember all that. I stepped back and I said, there's a bigger issue here than just pro South, anti South, pro flag, anti flag. The issue is the First Amendment. There are plenty of emblems that we see daily that each of us in our own way might find offensive for whatever reason. And yet, I and others are not out here demanding that those emblems be banned or that you be jailed for exhibiting them or that you be punished in some way. It's the First Amendment. You have a right to show that emblem. You have a right to speak your mind. As long as you don't infringe on my rights, we're good. That's my understanding of the First Amendment. Now, if you have a different understanding of the First Amendment, by all means, let me know. But my thought then, as is now, is that once they get what they want, the anti-flaggers, once they say, all right, this thing is banned, you can't show it anywhere, it's gone, good, get rid of it. They're not going to be happy with that. As is often the case with liberals and progressives, they're never really happy with anything. Even when they get what they want, they find something else to bitch about. So I said then, you watch, they're going to come after something else. Well, I told you so, because now this is a racist emblem. Think I'm crazy? Google it. News reports are out now that people want to ban this emblem, the Gadsden flag, the snake flag, the don't tread on me flag, however you choose to call it, because they say this is a racist emblem. Now, you and I, those of us who have some education and know a little something about American history, know that this flag, the Gadsden flag, is not and never was intended to be a racist emblem. It is an emblem about freedom, about liberty, about freedom from tyranny, freedom from oppression. And you would think that if anybody would appreciate that and want to support that, it would be the black community in this country, wouldn't you? I mean, wouldn't you think? Freedom from oppression, freedom from tyranny. What is it? I mean, look at this. You might say that whoever made this flag, they hate snakes. Maybe they hate snakes. That's what it is. This Gadsden fellow didn't like snakes. I mean, how the hell do you get racist from this? Don't tread on me. What in that indicates anything in the way of color or race or ethnicity? Anybody? I mean, can you give me a clue here? So I said then, and I'm going to say it again. I told you so. They're coming after this flag. And you know why they're coming after it? It's not because it's racist. They know damn well it's not racist. It's because certain people use this flag. Who are those people? Well, they're usually white. They're usually Republican. They're sometimes described as Tea Party. They're people who own guns. They're people who talk about the Constitution and limited government. They're people who talk about holding government officials accountable. We can't have that. Heaven forbid. So, what do? We try to shut these people down. We marginalize them. We demonize them. We paint them as something other than what they are. Because you and I both know there's nothing racist about this flag. But what we do know is if you label an emblem or a person racist, they just shut up. They don't want to be called that. They don't want to be labeled something that they're not. They don't want to be called bad names and have people thinking they're a racist. So they just quietly go away and hope that the issue dies down. Well, the issue's not going to die down because, folks, once they get rid of this one, guess what? They're going to find something else to go after. That's the way they work. And if you let them get away with it, if you let them have their way, just as they had their way with the Confederate battle flag, they're going to do it again. Now, aside from my comments on that, I wanted to give you an oh-so-brief little history lesson about the Confederate battle flag. Because once again, at this issue, as with others from the left, they seldom get the nomenclature right. They seldom get their facts right. They don't understand what it is they're talking about. They use the wrong terminology. And yet they expect you and I to believe that they know what they're talking about. This is the Confederate battle flag. See? The original Confederate battle flag was a square, not a rectangle, as most of those made today are, 52 by 52 inches. It was patterned after the St. Andrew's Cross. The St. Andrew's Cross was the Scottish flag. It was created to avoid confusion on the battlefield during the Civil War because, and I'm going to try to use the share on this thing and show you how this works. Let's see if I can find it. Bear with me while I get this right. Okay, so this is the United States flag, the American flag. Stars and stripes. Got it? Red, white, and blue. You see the color? Blue Canton up here on the left with stars. 36 at the time. Okay, so you got it? That's the American flag. Now, during the American Civil War, there was a problem we had with confusion on the battlefield because in the heat of battle, with smoke and noise and the wind blowing or the wind not blowing, sometimes the flag would lay dormant. Here's the first national flag of the Confederate States of America. This is the flag of the government. You got it? See what's going on here? Now compare this. Look over here. American flag. Stars and bars. Yes, stars and bars. Get it? It's not the Confederate battle flag. This is the stars and bars. So when you hear some left-wing moron talk about, well, the stars and bars is a racist emblem, that they're talking about the Confederate battle flag. This is not the Confederate battle flag. This is the government flag. But now, having made that point, you see where this might create some problems on a battlefield? You've got the stars and stripes, as we see over here. You've got the stars and bars. So after the first Battle of Manassas, and many Federal troops had fired on friendly troops, and Confederate troops had fired on friendly troops because they were confusing the flags, General Pierre-Gustave Toutant-Beauregard of the Confederate Army decided we needed a new flag for the troops in the field so that we can distinguish our army from their army. So, see how that works? Okay. Now, some of you are going to say, and I can feel your knees jerking from here. Well, Floyd, the Confederate soldiers were fighting for slavery, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. I knew that was going to happen, and you were going to come up with that. So I would suggest that you Google the 1860 U.S. Census. That is the United States Census. Yes, they were doing it even back then. And look at how many people in the southern states that would ultimately become the Confederacy owned slaves. I'm going to ask you right now, without looking, I'm going to challenge you, without looking, without Googling it right now, answer this question. Think about it in your own mind. What percentage of the southern people in the 11 states that became the Confederacy, what percentage do you think owned slaves? And you can hear the theme song from Jeopardy playing. You got a number? 10, 15, 25, 50%. I've asked this question in classrooms. I've asked this question at the college level of students. I've asked it of grown-ups in a room that I've been in. And I've gotten everything from 25% to 90%. You know what the number was? 4.8% owned slaves. Now, why does that matter? Why is that important? Are you really going to try to tell me that the majority of the Southern soldiers who fought in that war were fighting to preserve the institution of slavery when only 4.8% of the population in the South owned slaves? Really? That they're going to risk getting themselves killed, maimed, so that some rich plantation owner down the street can keep his slaves? I mean, think it through, guys. Human nature, think it through. Now, I could bore you to death with my senior thesis from college and tell you how I did the research into why both sides actually fought in the war. And the bottom line is that both sides thought they were fighting for the freedom as envisioned by our founding fathers. There was the pro-union side, the Union of States, and there was the states' rights side, those who thought it was up to each individual state to determine its own fate. And that argument's still going on today. And yes, there were people who actually went to war for that. Now, was slavery an issue? Yes, it was. For some people, it was. Was it the primary issue? Not even close. Was it the primary issue for most Southerners? No, it was not. For most Southerners, if you ask the average Southern soldier, why are you fighting? His answer would be, because you're here. There it is. That's it. So when you try to turn the Confederate battle flag into a racist emblem, because as you've noted in the past, the Ku Klux Klan uses that flag. And we know who the Ku Klux Klan is. So it must be a racist emblem because the Klan uses it. Okay, well, if we're going to use that argument, if we're going to use that standard to determine what is and is not a racist emblem, then I want you to look at this. And again, you can Google this yourself if you want. You don't have to trust me, but look at these pictures here. This is just a few of them. The page scrolls down, although I can't do it now while I'm using the share app here. But here's the Ku Klux Klan rally. Look at all the white sheets and the white hoods, and look at that flag right there. Look at this flag right here, and look at those flags right there. And there are many other such photographs of rallies and marches with the Ku Klux Klan. There's a really popular one where they're marching through Washington, D.C., thousands of them, and every damn one of them is holding a United States flag. So, if you're going to be consistent in your outrage and your righteous indignation, shouldn't we also ban the United States flag as a racist emblem?